Hey everybody, here we got video 6. Just want to do an introduction to it. In this video, I've got the 6x6 wood box and I'm testing different sizes of wood and the chimney size, being that 4.5 inch or the 6 inch. There's a whole pile of tests, and at the end I'll show you the chart and give you a little breakdown of my observations through this testing. I hope you enjoy. Thanks. Okay, we're going to do a little post-mortem on the stove. And so overall, I think it performed well. Pleased with what it did for what we were doing. It was just fine. So here's the box off, and this little grate was sitting kind of like so, or maybe it was sitting this way. Yeah, I think it was sitting kind of like this when I took it out, so it's kind of ho-hum about that, but you know, overall it drafted really well. It fired hard. I didn't have to worry about it. I could just walk away and leave it run, which is all I really was looking for, making sure the whole concept worked. Had some burning going on inside, so we'll go over to the board. As you can see, what I think happened was this rag was shoved in quite a long ways, right about here. So I think there might have been some residual heat from the bottom maybe escaping out, or just, I don't think so. It's packed pretty good, so I think it was just the heat from the gases, and it lit this on fire. Once I wetted it with water, it went out. This caught on fire, of course, and then it burnt all of the duct tape I had on the outside. So I don't think it didn't. I ran it for another 2 hours after this was put out, and it never tried to relight. So I actually don't think it's an issue. For the second run, I'll make sure that the rags are wet ahead of time and covering any holes, or maybe I don't know, put some tin somehow. Anyways, been thinking a lot about this, and I have a plan of attack now to go forward with this one. So let's show you guys the drawings, the sketches I made up. I've got some 100 sheet steel here. I think it's 13 gauge. And I got a new grading material. Found this at the in the cut bin. Really nice stuff. And let's go and grab the drawings and I'll show you what we got. So what you see there, that's our current design. And I'm going to build this firebox. So there's this chamber here. My burn chamber size and area. My first test is with these settings. So, and this is my test setup I'm going to do for this setup. So what I've got is I've sketched out a couple of different designs for the firebox, or feed box. I'm going to build this one first. So this one is 6x6. This one was 6 3/4, and of course I just scabbed it together. I've got this steel now, so I'm going to cut it out nice and build it. So you can see we're going to have a 6x6 top and a 4x6 bottom. So it's going to be just tapered at the sides, straight in the back, straight in the front, and going to give that a test burn. Call that my base, and with the lid off and no holes drilled in it. Once I know that that works, I'm going to let it cool, grab the drill, and start cutting holes. So I'm really thinking about this a lot, and I was looking at Romer 22001, subscribed and was adding some comments, and I was checking out his channel, and he's got a playlist of rocket stoves. So I went and checked some of them out, and a couple I have never seen before. But in there, they were talking about, you know, designs and stuff. And I got to thinking, you know, the way this works, of course, is the air comes in. And if anybody's seen Peapoddy 1, he's got the air comes in like this and goes over there and pours inside, which is good. But I was looking at the way I had built up some charcoal on the bottom, and I was thinking about maybe adding in an air hole at the bottom underneath the grating to draw a little air in and blow through the charcoal to help burn it. Made a couple changes to this, so was suggested by Rami22001 to not bother with insulating this feed box, and I agree with that 100%. For now anyways. So I did a little tweak here. This is all sealed with tin, and then there's some stove material, stove glue, and I've got vermiculite in the bottom to insulate and keep the heat from this lighting the wood on fire. So that's all it's all packed in like this deep inside, and then but otherwise it's the same. That all worked good. Ready to go. Pop the lid on it, fire it up. So here's the new feed box. So this is the 6x6 version. I'm going to do a series of testing with this one. It took some time to make it look good and make sure everything was square this time. I'm going to add an extension onto it just for, well, I'm going to do the first burn without an extension. Then I'm going to add the extension on. Okay, I'm just giving you a little glimpse of the new feed box before I put it on. And then put the lid on it for the testing, because you got to test the airflow. So I'll be drilling the holes in here for the airflow requirements, and then the secondary air down here as well, or the underneath the grating burn. So yeah, all I'm going to do is put this on here and give it a tack. And then, you know, when I want to tie a different feed box, I can leave the stove the same, build a new feed box, and try that one. Until I'm ready to start, I've decided which feed box I like the best, and then I'll use that one, and then I'll make the change to this and build this permanent. And maybe we'll test some other differences, like the height of the burn chamber and stuff like that, and the firing chamber there. But for now, this is it. I'll put her together and do an initial burn in, and then start doing some tests and samples, and I'll give you a couple snippets while I'm doing the tests. Okay, got the first test fire started, and as you can see, burning going on in there. I've got the Arduino, and I got a little upgrade. It got a little readout here. It tells me the time, the temperature, and the time from start of test. So it's just lit off. I'll let it burn for a while. So this is just a test burn to make sure everything works good. And once I'm through this test burn, I'll prep some wood and I'll measure an amount of wood. And I'm actually just going to test the exhaust pipe size. It'll be one of the first things to test. I wrote up a document last night. It's freaking cold out there. I wrote up a document last night to kind of correlate all my data and ideas. So one of the first tests I'm going to do before I build the feed box extension is try with a larger tube, just through a 5-inch exhaust, and just see if there's any restriction in the exhaust, and maybe, you know, that could be part of a performance change. So anyways, we'll let you guys know how it turns out in a minute here. So I just added some wood to it, and you can tell it's firing really well. So I've only added the sticks now. These ones stick out of the top of the box quite a ways. And if you recall, with the 6 3/4 by 6 3/4 test size, I had some smoke coming up the top and it would try to burn up. So we'll see what happens here with this one. It's definitely not doing that right now, but you know, let's give it a little bit of time and see what it does. Okay, it's been burning for 15 minutes, and can you tell it's burning up the logs for sure. So right now, that tall one, you can see it's just at the top of the burn chamber. I mean, it's drafting really well. We're sitting at, I don't know if you can read that on the screen. We'll see, I guess, after 150 degrees on the top. Yeah, it's so cold out here that LCD display is barely working. So what I do notice though is it drafts really well going in. Certainly doesn't seem to be an issue as far as the smaller box. And you can hear it whistling, making the rocket sound. So you know, this is 36 square inches, and we have 25 inches is the size of the burn tunnel. So that leaves us 11 square inches, and I'm sure the wood takes up more than 11 square inches. So theoretically, the air surface here that allows the air in is less than or similar to the size of the burn tunnel and the riser. So yeah, it's looking good. We'll let this burn down and see what happens. Okay, I'm trying it's a 6-inch flue right now, so there's really no restriction on the exhaust. It's obviously 36 square inch, sorry, not 36, I can't remember what the number is. Anyways, it's greater than the area of the burn tunnel. And if you look, it's drafting really well, like still no issues. But one thing to note is that like even that flame right there is not coming up. Like I think it's drafting better than it was previously. So it kind of indicates that maybe it's burning a little harder. And it's preventing the wood from burning up quite as much up the wood. Harder but shorter, I guess. I'm not 100% sure. We'll let the numbers speak for themselves, but you know, right now that's what it looks like. We're up to we're down to 217 degrees right now. The wood just shifted a smidgen and it came up a bit, but we were running over around 280, 270, up to 330, 340 before. So that's interesting. And I checked that smoke out, and it's not really smoke. It must be just, at least I checked it earlier, because there was nothing, didn't hurt the eyes, and it didn't smell like smoke. So yeah, interesting that changing the exhaust to 6-inch does make a difference in how it's burning, how it's running. I'm going to come and get a little video of this. Our temperature is down to 106, 107 if you can read that. Maybe if I took the little cover plastic off would help. I don't know if you can read it now. 107, 108, 109. Steadily dropping ever since I put this on, but I did load it with a little bit bigger wood, and you can look, it's burning good. Drafting well, not rising up. So I'm not really sure what's going on. So I'm gonna load some smaller wood, all smaller sticks. These are all this is all medium-sized stuff approximately. So I can imagine be a little bit of a difference in how it burns. So yeah, let's load her up and with small stuff and see how it does. But I just thought this was really interesting that it was burning. Still continuing to burn just fine, but not building the heat. Okay, so if you're looking at the results or the document, this is our 6-inch chimney test, and I'm using small sticks. That's 4 pounds of small sticks, all just kind of dropped inside the stove. The stove was burning quite well, and it just started dying off. There was mostly charcoal in the bottom, so as you can hear, it's ripping. So I'm interested to see if there's much burn back up through the sticks, or if the velocity of the air keeps the burn all down inside the stove. So yeah, well, let's see what happens. Alright, so we're going to do test number 3. I just thought I'd give you a little snippet here so you can see the status of the feed box. She's pretty burnt down, and you can see there's really no buildup of charcoal in the bottom. Looks really good. So this is my wood pile, which you can't see. I will get the work light out here. So this is another 4 pounds of wood. Hopefully this all goes in. It did go in before, so. Alright, well, that's all in there. I'm going to get the work light out so you guys can see. Okay, here's the load of wood I just loaded, or put into the unit. You can hear it's burning pretty hard right now. It's firing up really nice. Lots of rockety sounds. Okay, well, I'm recording the data and I'm taking notes, so we'll see how she goes. And that smoke is really just condensation, I think. I've checked it for like getting in your eyes or smelling it. It doesn't smell like smoke at all. So yeah, the whole test rig is really working good right now. Okay, here is in the middle of test 3, which is the medium-sized wood, and we're running 238. Can you see that? I don't know if you can with the light. 239. Anyways, I thought the way be interesting to see, you guys can see the way that the flame is just drawing down so well. And with the smaller wood, it seemed like it was not drawing down. It was it exceeded the velocity of the air, basically, right? So I have to do a little bit of moving of the wood because I've got like some knots in the edges and it's catching, but otherwise I'm not touching it. I'm letting it burn its way down. Yeah, a little bit of movement I have to do because things get caught on the edge, but yeah, it's looks like the size of the wood makes a difference. I'm going to do another test. Number 4 will be with small wood again once this burns down. Okay, we're still in test number 3. We're 30 some minutes in. It says 31.5, and here you can see the burn. And I haven't touched it. I did just a smidge halfway through. There was a big knot on one piece and I kind of had to push it over, but yeah, she's burning really good with these medium-sized pieces of wood. 7 pieces within this, and call that medium, I guess. You can see the chunk. Here's my finger. So, you know, 2x2-ish or smaller, 1.5. In that range, anyways. So I'm going to let this burn down, and then I'm going to validate. I want to validate the small wood test, so I'm going to kind of get it down where we're just getting to the bottom, and then I'll put the small wood in again and try that again. See if we validate test number 1. All right, so it's day number 2. Test number 1. It is a 4.5 inch. The smokestack's the original back on. I'm testing medium logs. We're just over 5 minutes in, and of course it's burning well, but as you can see, the flame is right at the top edge of the feed box, and it's threatening to start climbing outside and burning out inside the feed box. So I guess wait and see. You'll see from the test data. This is, I think, total test number 7. Generally I'm using 3 3/4 pounds of wood. I found that you could fit in a 6x6 box 7 sticks, and I call that medium wood, and you could fit like 12 sticks of small wood or 4 sticks of large wood, and those are the kind of the parameters for the testing I've been doing. And they're all taken from the same tree, and generally even the tests are done from the same log, but it's all from the same tree, which was felled a couple months ago in the winter here. So yeah, we'll see how she goes, I guess. Oh, I've got an IR infrared temperature thing from Princess Auto for really cheap, so I'm going to add in some spots of the exhaust temperature now as well. Okay, we're just over 9 minutes. As you can see, the fire has come completely outside the feed box now. I popped one stick out. So basically from here there's no way to get it to stop. Obviously it's come once it's exceeded the box, it's gonna keep going. So what I'm gonna do is obviously let this burn, but it's unfortunate for the test. So I don't know whether or not this is a function of the not enough air draft. That's what it looks like so far in the results. So I'm gonna burn this down, and then I'm gonna do another test of the exact same wood, slightly larger maybe, because I actually fit 8 pieces in. I'm going to try and just make it to 7 pieces, and try again and see if it burns the same way. And then I'll switch it out to the 6-inch exhaust and do the exact same test a couple more times. Alright, so here's test day 2, test 2. This is a repeat with the, well, 3.2 pounds, or just over 3 pounds of wood medium sized. As you can see, it's starting to burn up the sides again, so it looks like that's a failure. I think the air drafting is just not, the velocity is not high enough to keep the flames from licking back up the wood far enough. So there's either two solutions I'm thinking to this. It's either extend the feed box taller, so put a lid on it and make an airflow so that it can't actually burn up like the way it is, or the other option is the chimney. So we're going to go back and test the chimney size again and see if it does the same or if it does something different.
Hey everybody, here's the follow-up to the video. Just want to talk about the results. And so of course I started this whole project being a little bit willy-nilly. Decided we got to start tracking things a little bit better. And I wrote up this document to talk about the design testing for the rocket heater. So kind of my requirements for the design for the heater and the different variables that I thought would need to be tested. So I'm gonna post this there, I guess, through Google Documents probably, so people can download it if they want. I want to get done. But right now, in this video, part 6, we tested the exhaust chimney size, and we've got the 4.5-inch chimney and a 6-inch chimney. When I've tested small sticks, so a couple of different things that I observed during all this testing was sometimes when you load large wood, you get a flame out. I think there's just not enough burn surface area for the flame to propagate itself. With small wood, it was always, I would get filled with charcoal, and there's too much burn area. So it was generating too much charcoal. It was plugging off the burn area into the burn tunnel. And of course, with medium wood was not too bad, but we'd still, with all cases, get some burn up outside the feed box. The test duration, generally, the 6-inch chimney had a little bit longer than the 4.5-inch chimney. So in the individual tests, as you can see over here, we look at, say, this is the 4.5-inch chimney, 6x6 feed box, test number 1. So what I did was I recorded in each of these tests a couple of notes during the test. And then if we take a look at the charts themselves, here you can see there's day 1, test 1, 6-inch chimney, 6x6 feed box. So I think the one we just looked at was day 1, test 6. So if I go to day 1, test 6, here you can see the temperature profile of the top plate. And the test start temperature, 245, and then as it went along, of course, the burn started really picking up. The temperature would rise, peaked out, and then dropped off. So you can see the total time of approximately 35 minutes from time wood was added to when you have to add more wood or it's going to go out. And you can see that we never plateau for any length of time. If you look at any of the tests, they're all pretty similar. Here's one that did continue for a while, but as you can see, this one here was wood burning outside the feed box. So in the end, what I built was a summary. So here's all the tests for the 6-inch chimney using medium sticks, because these are the only ones that worked fairly well. And the profiles are very similar. Each one of them maybe had some challenges during the tests, but they're averaging around 40 minutes. They're peaking around 250 degrees or 275 degrees C. Pretty typical. They all burned fairly well. If we look at series 2, which was 4.5-inch chimney with a 6x6 feed box, here we can see this one started when the burn was a little hotter, and then it did kind of plateau for a while and then drop off. But they all still lasted about the same amount of time. We're in the 30 to 35 minutes. So it's interesting to see that even though the burn may have started differently, it's still, the duration was approximately the same. Obviously, when it burns harder earlier, you've gotten this extra heat in this area. So you see this one drops off earlier as well. But again, 30 to 35 minutes is the total duration, and not much of a plateau for any of them except for this orange one. And if we take a look at the orange one, that was day 2, test 2. I had wood burning outside the feed box. So what happened here was I had to remove some of the wood, and this test wood was a little bit rotten. So I had to remove some of the wood, and you could see it plateaued, and then I stuck the wood back in, and that kind of carried it over. So not 100% indicative. So in the end, do I see a difference between the 4.5-inch chimney and the 6-inch chimney? Well, there is a slight difference in the duration of the test. Most of the ones, if we use say 200 degrees as the cutoff, which I kind of started doing that later on, and on day 2 was trying to track to 200 degrees, and that would be my cutoff temperature. You can see I had one test that was 35 minutes, 200 degrees. So another one was 40 minutes, another one was 44 minutes, 43 minutes. If we look at the 4.5-inch chimney, 200 degrees here was 33 minutes. These would have been 37 minutes. The blue one, hard to say. I believe this one was a failure. So you can see just slightly longer in the chimney. Observationally, not a significant difference in how they burned. So I am going to continue with the 4.5-inch chimney for now and go on to the next phase of testing. So just a little preview, I guess, of what we're going to see next time. I did play around with the running the box with an extension, and of course it really demonstrated there's a problem with the airflow and with burning inside the feed box, going up the feed box. So hopefully this next series of videos we can get a feed box design and the airflow figured out and see what the differences are and how it affects the operation of the unit. Thanks for everybody for watching, and please subscribe. Appreciate everybody's support and comments.